Hey guys, so I couldn't find a quiet place to the gym, so I thought I'd come out here to my fire pit, which is my happy place. See if we could get enough peace to get a recording in. Um, I started thinking about how often I end up in discussions about sugar substitutes and artificial sweeteners because obviously the way I eat to minimize insulin requirements and keep my blood sugar under control, I don't do a lot of sugar at all if I can help it. So I thought I'd go through a few things I've learned, like what I prefer, what I go to, what I stay away from, some of the health and science behind those choices, and talk through that here with you. Um, I'll cut to the chase, and I'll just say my favorite probably currently is powdered stevia. This happens to have erythritol in it, which is a sugar alcohol. I'll come back to that. But if I can get it without that, just pure stevia, that's my go-to. So years ago, they initially banned this based on some early research that said it might not be safe, might be cancer causing, or something to that effect. Subsequently, they've revised that, and it is now generally regarded as safe. It's like I said, it's naturally derived, so it's not actually an artificial sugar. It's just a sugar substitute. The taste is distinct, but I don't mind it. I've found that when I'm using it in things, I'm okay with that flavor. Some people really don't like it, totally preferential thing. But for me, it's kind of a go to. Another natural alternative to sugar is monk fruit. Again, monk fruit you tend to find with erythritol in it, which I don't prefer, and I'll talk about why in just a second. But you can find that, just pure monk fruit sweetener. So that's another option. These are replacements to sugar that are not going to significantly impact your blood sugar. So that's really the whole point of this. Well, let's talk about sugar alcohols for a minute. Um, Erythritol is a very common one. Another you'll see is maltitol, and there's several others that find their way into a lot of processed foods, quite honestly, that are billed as low carb or keto. A sugar alcohol is not really a sugar, it's not alcohol. It is a type of carb. It's lower in carb total carbs than sugar would be, so it's not going to impact your blood sugar as much. Your body also doesn't tend to process it very well, so that is where the problem comes in with this option. Um, a lot of it tends to be disruptive to your gastrointestinal function because most of it's not being processed by your body. It's literally passing through. So, something to be aware of. Some types of sugar alcohols I've found I'm more sensitive to than others, especially maltitol. I just can't do it. And I've heard that anecdotally from a lot of other people. So, you might just be aware of that going in. Um, in other words, test it out in small quantities. Don't overcommit because you might regret it. So, sugar alcohols, again, generally regarded as safe. Erythritol had some scare in the news last year, about its supposed connection to heart disease. I would encourage you to watch Dr. Westman's video on that paper. He basically went through it and broke it down and read the supplemental papers, which most of your journalists that reported on it didn't do. He's a research doctor, and his conclusion was there's nothing to see here. He's not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of it, but I don't really prefer the taste. It has a really distinct cold kind of aftertaste that I just don't really like. So it's not my thing. You can try it. You might like it fine. Again, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but too much, your stomach might let you know. Um, Another sweetener that's really not a sugar alcohol. It sounds like one. It's considered a rare sugar. It's called allulose. This stuff is about 70% as sweet as sugar, and it doesn't have a distinct flavor to me at all. Again, though, the problem is your body doesn't actually process most of this, so uh, if you ingest a lot of it, your stomach might let you know about it. So I find, and this is one where a little bit goes a long way. I can't do a whole lot of allulose, but I'm not afraid of it. So when I'm buying food, like my go-tos, traveling and things like that, where I have to have something I can just eat and I can't prepare it, any one of these, if it's in it, I'll tolerate it. But I really lean towards things that are sweetened with stevia these days if I can find it. Because to me, I like the taste. There's no cold flavor, no stomach issues. So it's really my preferred alternative to sugar. But let's talk about artificial sweeteners. Um, some of the big ones you'll see, saccharin, aspartame, sucralose, and they all have brand names that you'll find them labeled as. You just have to read the label to see what they are. Um, Sucralose actually tastes great. It's probably my favorite substitute for sugar because I don't mind the taste of it personally. Some people don't like the aftertaste. They think that there's a strong aftertaste. For me, there's not. Uh, However, these artificial sugars tend to be natural antibiotics. And what does that mean? Well, literally, they can start to kill off your gut bacteria. So a lot of sucralose, and I've read headlines that said, one packet of sucralose could literally wipe out half your gut microbiome. I got to do a little more research to see if that's really how that works, because that'd be really alarming. Our gut health is so important to our overall health that you don't want to do that. Um, there's been some correlation with, for example, aspartame and killing off gut bacteria that help regulate insulin sensitivity. That's a big deal. So if you're a type 2 or pre-type 2, you're trying to manage your metabolic health and you're drinking diet sodas all day long, because guess what? Aspartame's in all those diet sodas. You might be working against your goals. So it's something you need to be aware of. I think the big thing with aspartame, though, that is a red flag for me is there's some research out there that suggests that it might do more than just mess up your gut health. And I'm going to read this from a 2017 study. It's titled Neurophysiological Symptoms and Aspartame. What's the connection? I'm just going to read from the abstract. The consumption of aspartame, unlike dietary protein, can elevate the levels of phenylalanine and aspartic acid in the brain. These compounds can inhibit the synthesis and release of neurotransmitters dopamine, norepinephrine, and serotonin, which are known regulators of neurophysiological activity. Aspartame acts as a chemical stressor by elevating plasma cortisol levels and causing the production of excess free radicals. None of that's good. None of that's good for your brain health. None of that's good for even things like depression or anxiety. Um, so for me personally, that one's off the list. Like, I'm not going to put that in me. Um, I would encourage you to do your own research on that. Again, if you're somebody who's drinking a lot of diet drinks because you think you're doing yourself a favor, you might be working against yourself in other ways. So that's it, guys. If you have questions, comments, just hit me up.